Hey guys, thanks for joining me again for part 2 of On Tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century by Timothy Snyder. Previously we had went over just the prologue and chapter 1, History and Tyranny. Basically what it boiled down to is that inequality brings instability, no matter what. The inequality makes things fail and fall. So that brings instability. Aristotle warned that. Plato also believed that demagogues exploited free speech to install themselves as tyrants. Chapter 1, a brief little overview on that, was do not obey in advance. Most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want, and then they offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. So when we move on to chapter 2, it talks about defending our institutions. Institutions can be public or private. So right now, I want to think more in terms of our small business and businesses that need our support so that they do not fall. It is institutions that help us preserve decency. They need our help as well. Do not speak of our institutions unless you can make them yours by acting on their behalf. Institutions, insert small business, fall one after the other unless each is defended from the very beginning. So choose an institution you care about. A court, a newspaper, a law, a labor union, and take its side. We tend to assume that institutions will automatically maintain themselves against even the most direct attacks. This was the very mistake that some German Jews made about Hitler and the Nazis after they had formed a government on February 2nd, 1933. For example, a leading newspaper from German Jews published an editorial expressing this mislaid trust. One of the little articles, it goes on to read, there's a little part in it, where they actually had said this came from a German Jewish person, and they published this in their own little newspaper. They said they will not suddenly deprive German Jews of their constitutional rights, nor enclose them in ghettos, nor subject them to be jealous and murderous impulses of the mob. They cannot do this because a number of crucial factors holds power in check. And they clearly do not want to go down that road. When one acts as a European power, the whole atmosphere tends towards ethical reflection upon one's better self and away from revisiting one's earlier oppositional posture. And we all know how that turns out. For them, it was horrific. It was a genocide. The mistake is to assume that rulers who come to power through institutions cannot change or destroy those very institutions, even when that is exactly what they have announced they will do. By the end of 1933, Germany had actually become a one-party state in which all major institutions had been humbled, and that was a process. It didn't happen overnight. That November, German authorities held parliamentary elections, actually without any opposition, and a referendum on an issue where the correct answer was known to the public, right? To confirm the new order. Some German Jews voted as the Nazi leaders wanted them to, in the hopes that this gesture of loyalty would bind the new system to them. And that was in vain. That was a vain hope. It did not turn out that way for them. We move on to chapter 3, talks about the one-party state. When I talk about the one-party state, I think that it's important that we think about that in the sense of globalism as we see things today. The worst part about that is when the chapter refers to the one-party state, it's talking about a place inside the globe. You have options to escape. In a one-party state, you can be a refugee, you can leave, you can find a sense of safety. When it comes to globalism as the one-party state, there is no safety. There's no going anywhere to find safety, and we see that right now as travel has been restricted. Certain populaces can't travel. Some can, but you're all going under the same restrictions. So as I read this, keep in mind globalism and the one-party state. So the parties that remade states and suppressed rivals were not omnipotent from the start. They exploited a historic moment to make political life impossible for their opponents. So support the multi-party system and defend the rules of democratic elections. Vote. Vote in local and state elections while you can. Consider running for office even.
We will not comply with the institutions, sick illusion. No, it won't.